That's what pausing looks like. And I would love every woman to be able to pause. And I want my daughter to be able to pause, especially if you've been hustling. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have, because we do live in the hustle culture. The question is, why, if you've been doing all the things, running the launches, pushing the offers, offer after offer after offer out, creating content, reels, stories, threads, TikTok, every platform, hustling like crazy. Why do almost all women eventually still hit the wall, that invisible wall that you don't seem to be able to push through? It keeps you stuck, and it doesn't matter what you do. You just keep hitting it. It was the case for me for a while. It's the case for everyone I coach, all the women, pretty much everyone. They keep changing strategy after strategy, framework after framework, method after method, and something is holding you back. Something is keeping you stuck, and you can't quite pinpoint what it is. So I've seen a lot of strategies as a marketing pro. I've mastered all sorts of things, from organic marketing to paid ads to copywriting, all sorts of things. And I've had some very powerful insights into why I was struggling, into why so many people I coach struggle. And there is no one thing, right? Okay, let's agree. Like when people tell you, this is the last missing link, this is the last piece of the puzzle. I mean, come on. Like, well, unless you have solved everything else and this is the last thing that's left in your business ecosystem, well, maybe. But how do you know that? Do you even know that? Because I didn't. And I kept following that last missing piece just to find that there is another one. So I'm not the one who's going to tell you that this is the last one, but this is one of the pieces that is very critical to understand. And there is a reason why I do that pause at the start of my videos. This is my way of saying something by not saying anything. And a few things go into that. One of them is in relation to this particular topic on today's stream. And it's around a certain principle in the marketplace that works for everyone. Not everyone, though, aligns with that principle. Many people don't even know about it. But let's roll back a little bit. Let's look into some parallels in life potentially that you might find very true for you. And that is something in relation, specifically in relation to women and how women operate in this world at home, in families. Like, and, let me know if you are watching this live or afterwards, if you're catching the replay. Uh, I want these videos, these streams to be pretty much like quick coaching calls that I do. And this is my way of, and I'll get to these things too, of finding maybe my voice, maybe what's the most valuable for me to talk about, maybe finding some level of different, maybe not maybe, actually, this is very true. It's also about putting myself into the flow mode, forcing myself into the flow mode, because I do know that when I'm in that flow, when I'm forced into the flow mode, I actually perform the best. It's been always like that. It wasn't perceived before. At the same time, it can also be a curse. And so now I'm shifting the conversation to making the point about what about the insight that I actually saw and could never unsee. And it changed so much in my personal life as well as business. And it's this. So tell me in the comments, who is running the house? If you have a family, if you have children, if you live with, in some sort of setting where there's more than one person, more people than you, who's running the house? As a woman, you probably are the one, right? And you know what I'm talking about, right? It's holding all the four corners. It's organizing all the logistics, all the appointments, all the doctor appointments, all the school stuff, the school runs, always being available, always being in the door and getting these, hi mom, where is this, where is that, where is my stuff, when is my appointment, when is my after school class on this and that, right? You know what I mean? And you do all those things. And including things like, how many times have you actually folded laundry when everyone else is already asleep? How many times have you finished on a call like at 10 p.m. and went straight to the kitchen to clean up while everyone else is about to go to bed? And whoever praises you for this kind of work. Now, look at this. What happens when your partner or husband does something at home once in a while? Like, I don't know, fixes a cupboard or a tap or even cooks dinner sometimes. Everyone needs to talk about it, right? Everyone needs to analyze, oh, look at this flavor, look at the sauce, look at this. Can you taste this? How nice it is. And then next morning, during breakfast, the family is still talking about it. And potentially, a week later, um, when you are sitting with your friends, he still remembers how he made a dinner a week ago and how beautiful it was. But what about you? Who praises you for making dinners for the rest of the time? Who even notices that somebody somehow cleans the house? Like, well, the house is clean, and nobody even knows that it needs to be cleaned so that it's cleaned. I like saying, oh, fairies, change your sheets and clean the bathroom, right? But you know what is the saddest part for me in this is that women very often don't realize that this is happening in their life. They don't. I did not see that. But then I can't remember exactly when I started seeing it, but I remember I was reading an article about invisible load. You've probably heard um, this phrase, invisible load. And you know what? It's so real. I started digging in the numbers and I found some numbers, and it's endless. There are many, many studies on what women are doing at home and what men are doing at home. And listen, first of all, I want to highlight, I guess, that this is not something to bash, to blame men for. This is the society. This is a hidden problem in the society. This is something that people are not seeing. It's something that women themselves are not seeing, many of them. And the stats are showing that, and I have them written down, and the stats are showing that women do 2.5 times more unpaid care and domestic work daily than men. In some regions, less developed regions, it's over 4 times. Then, I guess we can debate like why it's bigger in less developed regions, and I'm guessing that it's partially because a lot of women don't go to work, whether it's good or bad or whatever. It's the way it is. And but the reality is that so many women and women entrepreneurs are trying to run a business and they are handling all the stuff at home. And you were wondering why it's so hard. And it's not only about having less time, it's also about the cognitive overload, it's about the decision fatigue, it's about the overload on your frontal cortex, where you can't even think straight anymore because you are so consumed by spinning multiple plates, by having the mental to-do list, not only for yourself but for everyone in your household. Another number is women worldwide clock 16 billion hours of unpaid work every day. I mean, it's unpaid and it's school and it's your family. But you know where the problem starts? The problem starts when the same mindset, the same subconscious programming spills into your business too. And I didn't grab the stats about how women operate in business versus how men operate in business, but I know and I've researched that women tend to do smaller things in business. And women tend to do more unpaid work in business. That's why you create content like crazy. That's why you handle dozens sometimes of offers. You know, they call it offer suites, whatever that means, your offer collection. And I've seen pages, I've seen websites of women with pages of offers listed. And they are all kind of small. They're small. They're cheap offers. Meaning you need to sell really, really hard in order to create decent income. And here comes the wall or the cap. You have so many hours in the day. You are wired is to stay small, to stay unseen. Same way as at home, they are not seeing a lot of your work. You're not used to be seen. You're just put your head down and do the damn thing every single time without saying it. So I remember that article about invisible load, and the solution they were talking about. They were saying, make it visible. Make your invisible load visible. The first step to do is to make that invisible load visible so they see it. How do you make it? Well, that's a different story. Everyone can handle that differently at home. Talk to them. It's talking to them, right? But the same applies in business, actually. You need to make your value visible, the value. Because at the end of the day, the biggest secret here, it's not about the effort. It's not about how many hours you put in to your business creating content. It's about the value of it. And effort doesn't equal value. It does not. You want an example, you want an analogy. One analogy could be digging a well. You could be digging a well with a spoon. Lots of effort. But you could also be digging a well with an excavator. Way less effort and way faster. Right? And it's still the same well. Is the well that you made by digging with a spoon more expensive? Better? No. It's just a well with way more work. And guess what? They're not gonna compensate you for the work, for digging with a spoon. They will actually say, you know what they will say? They will say, why is it so slow? Why are you so slow? I wanted a well yesterday, and you are still digging it. So, in fact, you are digging with a spoon and getting paid less in the end because it's too slow. So, here is the deal your hustle is capping your income, your freedom, your sovereignty, your financial independence, if that's what you're after. It's capping. You know why? Because that same mindset that makes your work at home invisible is making you to create stuff, content, offers. But especially I'm talking for this video, especially I'm talking about content, reels, reel after reel, story after story, shorts, short form content, and how much value you are actually delivering to the marketplace with that content. In fact, this project of mine, doing these live streams here, is actually me stepping away from the content that is less valuable, from the content where that makes it really hard to educate people on something. And I've done maybe just a few reels in my entire career as an entrepreneur. I don't do stories, I don't do that kind of stuff. It's incredibly hard to create value with this kind of content. And I am a copywriter. So my short content, like posts mostly, can actually be really good if I want to make them good. And yet they're not going to produce the same amount of value. And as you know, right, you get rewarded in direct proportion to the value you deliver to the marketplace. So guess what? If you do not deliver value throughout your sales process as part of your revenue ecosystem, it's very, very hard to get rewarded high. Which is why you are thinking, let me make another reel, let me make another story, let me post something now. AI, oh, thanks AI. Thank you, AI, for being here, helping me to push even more content. Well, guess what? AI is not helping you create more valuable content if you don't understand the principles. And I know, like, we are hearing this in the industry. You know what? If you don't post every day, they're gonna forget about you. You know what? If you don't post every day, you'll become invisible. And nobody's gonna need you anymore. It is partially true. But being visible, just showing your face, doesn't mean creating value. You also want to create. It's way better to create less content, but really valuable. I'm moving away from social media to be on YouTube and just create one video a week. Whether on my own or with someone else, a guest, an expert of some sort. I'll be bringing in people to create even more value for you, to help you even more. If you are stuck somewhere mid level, mid ticket, maybe low ticket, maybe mid ticket, and you want to create leverage in your business so that you want to minimize the number of moves you are doing every day. Instead, you want to maximize the value of every move. Subscribe to this channel because there will be a lot of information on this. This is specifically for busy, ambitious women entrepreneurs who are creating life on their own terms. It's very hard to create life on their own terms if you are always busy hustling like crazy. Especially because, and that nobody talks about it, especially because you do not get rewarded for the effort. You get rewarded for the value you deliver to the marketplace. And I'm not gonna expand on value on this video because it's yet another topic worth another episode. It's another episode just on value because all value is not equal and it's highly misunderstood in the industry what kind of value you need to focus on creating in order to build to create real success. So anyway, I mean, even if you're here, if it, and I know it can be really scary to just say, you know what, I'm moving away from social media, or I'm minimizing the number of moves, I'm maximizing the power of every move. It can, especially if you don't know what to do. But the thing is, maybe it's better just to stop because even if you are don't know what to do, you can't know until you properly stop. Excuse me. Tickles in my throat just in time. um, you know, you want to be a woman who doesn't sacrifice your current life to hustle, to the hustle that is not even creating what you want. You want to find a way to create what you want by also creating space in your business and in your life in the process. And it's available. You know, if one tip I can give now on how to make invisible load or invisible hustle visible, how to expose the value. Let's go back to the situation at home. You know, what if you named it? What if you named it, first of all, in your own head, why you do what you do? Because I'm a big fan of exposing the value of what you do to yourself first. so you become happy. It's one of my favorite things in what I do when I help my clients fall back in love with what they do. Because somewhere along the line, they started on one foot, and somewhere along the line, they got distracted with all the frameworks, all the coaching, all the strategies that are misaligned from the principles. So it's imperative that you love what that you start valuing what you do. And I'm not talking about self-worth. In this case, I'm talking more about a more pragmatic side of things. Like, fine, okay, so I could be just thinking, I spent that many hours on doing the dishes every day. Why? Is that important? Can you ask that question? Why is that important? Can you ask that can you answer that question to yourself? And then can you talk about it with your family? And why is it important for them? What's in it for them? Right? So or another example, okay, you help your kids with the homework. Why is that important? What's the meaning? What's in it for them as well? Maybe if you talk to them about why it's important for them, maybe they will even be happier doing the homework, right? Same here. I mean, okay, so if I know somebody, let's say I see a celebrity on Instagram dancing, being happy, and well, not celebrity, an influencer, a friend who has a following on Instagram, and she's dancing. And because I know her, I'll watch the video. I'll watch the short. Am I getting anything else from that? I don't. In most cases, I just don't. But what if you approach your content from what's in it for them perspective? And I know the energy thing and whatever, it's super important. Yes, so important. But part of the reason why it's hard for you to generate the right energy is because somewhere deep down, you don't believe that what you are doing is important or useful for the one watching. So every time you are about to create a piece of content, ask what's in it for them. Instead of compulsively jumping into your phone, creating content, another reel somewhere on the way to some place, to the shop or whatever, talking about hell knows what. Why would anyone care? Every time, what's in it for them? I actually, every time I create a piece of content, I think about a couple of things at least. What is the point I want to make? What is the point do I want to make? And not just like, it's a beautiful day kind of point. What is the point that is going to change how they think? What is the what are they thinking behind what they are doing, that they are doing wrong, incorrectly, that they're making a mistake, or that is making them stuck? And what is the counterpoint? So it's not necessarily about the tips and tricks and hacks and steps, not at all. And it's the easiest, and it's even easier if you can change somebody how they view the world themselves, how they think. It's actually even easier to do that and tell stories. So what's in it for them? So the point in emotion, and every piece of content, before creating every piece of content, think of what's in it for them. What is the point that I want to make? What is the emotion I want to create? And the emotion, when you select an emotion that you want to create, it's best when it's along the lines of those abbreviations: LOL, OMG, short phrases, all in, things like that. So it's not about more effort, it's about the story you are telling yourself about your work and why you're valuable, and about stopping doing those little invisible things just the way you do it at home and the way you are wired now, to think about how valuable what you are doing is. You know, even Michelle Obama said there is no limit to what as women can accomplish, to what we as women can accomplish when we take charge of our own narrative. So you need to take charge of your own narrative, not what the society taught you, not the programming that is living in you, not what your family is telling you. It's you. You take charge of your narrative. You take charge. You take space in the marketplace. Take space in the marketplace by making that invisible load visible, not by doing more, but by showing them the value you actually hold, why it matters, why it's meaningful. Expose the meaning of it. What is the meaning? What is the meaning? What is the meaning of what you are doing? I'll be first to admit that for a while, I, it's not that I wasn't thinking about the meaning. I was struggling to pinpoint the meaning of what I do, but the result was, similar. What is the meaning? What is the meaning? So next time actually I'm planning to talk about pricing. And the next episode in a week is going to be about pricing, and I'll be talking about premium pricing and pricing in general, about some principles. So make sure you subscribe and get notifications um, when I'm going live. And it's actually Wednesdays at 3 p.m. GMT every Wednesday. And the week after, I think I'm going to have a guest on a very interesting topic too. So make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. The if it's the replay is the replay. And I'll talk to you again. Claim it. Claim your value. Claim your space in the marketplace.